This is the Fantasy Football Game Plan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL. So it's mock draft season, and I did a couple over the weekend. Have you done many on your own?
No,
Okay.
I have not done any mock draft. I kind of laugh at the mock drafts that I saw on my social media feed because it's so early. It's so early. Like, is Aaron Rodgers playing? Like, is he?
Well, what else is he gonna do? I mean,
I know, but is he like? Is Davante Adams number one receiver off the board?
well, I mean, at the moment he is. Also, interesting news today: Julio Jones said that he wants out of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. And he's like number 12 on the list or something like that. So it's just it's interesting to see when you're doing this in May, well, June, let's call it.
Yeah. Well, we'll
see people sit.
Who can afford Julio, and if in fact they'll grant his wishes and trade him, or if he'll have to retire, or go the Aaron Rodgers route and be forced into playing or retiring. We'll see. But okay, I believe that we've got it here. Let's make sure you're there and I'm there. Okay, so one thing with the snake and ladder, I guess you got to see what number you are in the draft. So you drafted ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
You ended up being the number 7 guy.
That's right.
And then I came in at 9. So just going through it, I've done a couple mock drafts this weekend. Everybody's drafting Christian McCaffrey first. I haven't seen anybody not draft him first. I guess if he's healthy, he'll be that guy. But I haven't seen him with the Matt Rule system be the number 1 running back in the NFL.
I think since it was a PPR league too, taking him as a receiver option, he's also has a higher value because we're in a 12-man PPR league snake ladder. So well, I think sitting there I think just his versatility of both catching the ball, lining up in a slot, I think that's why he's regarded as number 1 off most boards. And he didn't get banged up last year, right? He was sitting.
Yeah,
so he's nice and healthy. He should be nice and healthy.
We saw him for 2 or 3 games last year. Dalvin Cook missed 2 or 3 games last year, but he's a similar guy. He catches the ball. He scored the most 2-point converts in the league last year. He's a great runner, and that system is all about feeding the running back the ball. And, given the fact that he was healthy last year, I'm kind of surprised that nobody's been taking him number 1. Derrick Henry he went number 3. He doesn't really catch the ball a lot, but he's a workhorse.
He'll get 21 touches.
Okay. And then, so as you were alluding to earlier, Davante Adams is the first receiver off the board at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of a head scratcher to me.
Yep.
Given all the drama that's going on there, I know it's early, but I'm kind of wondering if this is one of those 0 wide receiver guys. I guess as we go through this, we'll see. 0 running back guys. I did a couple drafts this weekend, and I noticed there were some people that were doing the 0 running back strategy, but they took it way too literally. Like they literally had, in the end, they had 2 running backs from one team, Houston, and that was it. Okay. They had a good team otherwise, but they had, they only drafted 2 running backs, both from the same team, a bad team that's going to be losing and throwing all the time. So, I understand that people like to do the 0 running back strategy, but it doesn't literally mean 0 running backs. Like, you have to have something at some point.
Yeah. I think going back to what you said a couple of weeks ago, running backs are, there's not that many of them. So picking a wide receiver at the 4th spot in any league seems to be a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, sure, I would pick Davante Adams at, let's say, 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
knowing that I can come back up the ladder and pick up probably somebody else. Trying to get the number one receiver off the board. But I'm also kind of skeptical on Devontae Adams being the number one this year without Aaron Rodgers. Like if Aaron Rodgers was there, like he was my
Yeah.
number one pick last year, sitting
Yeah.
at 7 in a 10-man league,
Yeah.
but sitting at 4 and with no quarterback to throw to, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So Saquon Barkley, who was injured last year, he goes next.
It's a good pick.
You know, well, okay. Is he going to be healthy at the beginning of the year? It's just something to ask yourself. Also, the O-line is a mess on that team. I know they like to feed the running back the ball
He can catch.
a lot. Yeah, he can catch it. But, Zeke had a bad year. He went next, Ezekiel Elliott.
But his buddy's back there, so like he's gonna get, like hang out with Dak and the kids. So
Okay.
everyone's back in Dallas, and so Zeke's gonna they're gonna play well with each other, I think too. So I don't know. I think Kamara, my pick at 7 was a pretty much of a steal. I think he should have been 4th or even 3rd. So I was pretty happy with him still being on the board at that point.
Yeah, and that's why I was sort of questioning the Elliott and the Barkley.
Not ahead of Kamara.
Not ahead of Kamara. So what I thought you did was really smart.
Yeah, best guy off the board, right? You just go pick him.
Yeah. So
I had Kamara in like a non-keeper 3 years ago. I wish I still had him in my keeper.
yeah, getting him at 7 is a steal, and then already at number 8, we're going to the second receiver taken in the draft at number 8, Tyreek Hill. He doesn't make it onto my teams because I don't think he's a good human, but I recognize that he's a talented fantasy player. So although I wouldn't draft him, I could see, he is one of the top receivers, but really surprised that the running back didn't go here. I was up next, and given that you got Kamara, I thought there were still some running backs available, and picking so low down in the queue, I wanted to go for the Kelsey advantage because he's just head and shoulders above everybody else, knowing that I've got another pick coming up very soon as we start to reverse down the ladder. So I was first out of the gate to get a tight end. But my eyes were on the running backs and looking to see like who I thought was going to be there when it came back around again, because there's still some good, not the best choices in the league, but still some good choices left.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was sort of more running backs taken. Taylor and Chubb, I mean, good picks, solid, and then the third. We're still in the first round. We've got a third receiver coming off the board in the first round.
Yeah.
But I guess this guy knows that he's going to have the next pick, so he can have any running back he wants and the third best receiver. So that's pretty solid going Diggs and Jones back to back.
Yeah, so 12 guys, 12-man league is a pretty tough league too. You get really skinny, I guess, when you get past, the 8th round when it comes to quality guys. So who's ever picking 12, picking top wide receiver, top running back, definitely they actually have one of the most advantage. Like you have an advantage going into the season with those guys staying healthy, right? So that's what's also like, you could have the number 1 pick, but then you're picking 24. So, sometimes it's better to be in the latter part, like how you were saying, that you could pick a stud position that, the top 3 guys are just lightnings away from anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And like you can get your points in that manner, or in this manner here too. When you're picking 11th or 12, you could pick best guy up, and still have a really solid line coming down to like your 35th and 36th line.
Right.
Like choosing. So I've done this my whole career playing fantasy.
Yeah.
I think the highest I ever picked was first, and then fourth, and then I've always been sort of like in the seventh and 10th and ninth, and you do get away with some good players in this manner.
Yeah, I mean, first doesn't seem like that much of an advantage to me, getting to pick first in the snake and ladder format. I feel
You
like it's
picked Christian McCaffrey.
it's if that works out, great. We'll see. Last year, it did not. He was the number one off the board last year, and it did not work out.
I think, Sean, though, when you get down into the fifth and sixth and eighth
Yep.
rounds, I think being first is actually because now you're getting into when people are in the ranked 150s or the 90s or in the 80s, and you're getting the best guys off the board, so your bench ends up becoming really strong. And you walk away with a strong team.
Okay.
You don't get those like marquee players.
Yeah.
Getting picked up right away. And it'd be interesting too if we could do like a keeper league thing, because it would be my first time doing a keeper league as well too, right? So understanding how the strategy goes in that matter. But yeah, I've seen guys walk away with really good grade drafts due to the fact that you're looking at their team, you're like, how did they get all those stud players? Oh, they drafted second. Oh wow, like, yeah, they really did pick up those marquee players when it came down to the early middle rounds.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move forward and see how that played out for this draft here that we did. Okay. So Aaron Jones, top of round 2, good solid pick. The guy, he went Diggs at 12 and then Aaron Jones at 13. So there's 2 great guys to have on your team. And he picked them back to back. And then Cam Akers, pretty good. Second round running back. That's a steal. What did you think about Deandra Swift? Because you're a Detroit fan. What did you think of him going this high? Do you think that's a good spot for him?
Well, he picked Jonathan Taylor prior. So sitting there at Swift, he's trying to stack his running backs. PPR league, Swift can drop a ball in the end zone on his rookie debut. It's interesting pick. I don't know if I would have picked Swift so high. Definitely like late second, early third, depending who's on the board.
So I was very happy because I did not want to pick Swift. I was thrilled to see Eckler still there, having gone with the tight end in my first round. I feel like I got I had my eye on Akers and he went, and I saw Swift was next in the rankings. And so I was happy that, the guy ahead of me didn't take Eckler, because I'd much prefer to have Eckler. You made the point earlier, running backs that catch the ball and run the ball are so valuable. And I just like Eckler. I think he's the main cog in the wheel that drives that offense. And I was just happy to get him, at 16 overall. And Hopkins went next. That's a pretty solid pick. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that was my pick. And then my computer mouse highlighted all the fields. And then before I knew it, I drafted Sanders. So I was like, it was like, oh, some guy has taken Hopkins away from you. I was sitting on the running back page, like not even like getting, I wasn't on my queued up guys. And then my mouse, I guess, highlighted a bunch of fields. I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell Sean I want to redraft. At this point, I was so mad. I was like, how do I waste my pick on Miles Sanders at this? So I was actually looking to get Najee Harris, but for some reason this guy got picked in front of me. But my original one was Hopkins, because my strategy going down was to pick up Murray. So I screwed up. I basically said at this point, well, I got to now it's a hodgepodge, because my strategy right now is gone. Like I wanted to get Hopkins and, coming down the ladder, pick the QB that I wanted, which was Murray. But for some reason, my mouse went wild. And I guess that's the problem too. It's like always do a mock draft before
Yeah.
you go into your draft because you never know how the system works or whatever happens. So I was just like a computer illiterate at that time, and I picked a running back from a team that is so undecisive of what they're going to do. I'm not even sure why he was even on the board that high, but we can carry on.
Okay, well, so was that just there was a problem, and the computer sort of picked that
Oh, it was me.
guy for you, or
It was
did you
me.
have
It
him in
was
your
me.
team?
I right clicked. I highlight for some reason. I highlighted in a bunch of fields,
Yeah,
and then by the time I left clicked out of it or right clicked out of it,
yeah.
I selected a player that whatever. So anyway, so my strategy at this point would have been to Najee Harris. So he
Okay.
went down later on in this in this
Yeah.
draft. He went on 24th. So
Okay. So to reemphasize your point, get familiar with the site that your league is going to be drafting on. Do some mock drafts, even though you were saying earlier that you feel like it's a bit of a joke. It is good practice, and
well,
stuff
in
does.
in May when you're looking at the rankings and
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
number one receiver doesn't even have a quarterback to throw to him that's not in love with like I don't know like whatever.
yeah, it's a good exercise just to get familiar with the software, with the rankings, to have guys queued up. I don't know if you had, the next several players that you wanted already queued up so that when one goes, it would just go down to the next guy.
Not at round two. At
Okay.
round two, I was still trying to figuring out how everything worked.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have anybody in queue at this point. I was just going like sitting on the guys or whatever. It was just odd. It was just a human error
Okay.
and a glitch.
Fair enough. So at 19, DK Metcalf goes. And then Joe Mixon,
PPR
AJ
like Joe Mixon is a pretty high value.
running and catching, right?
Mhm.
And then AJ Brown, he's moved up in everybody's rankings this year. People are loving him.
So yeah, I was searching for him probably in round 3 or 4 because I found like the search bar and I was starting to queue guys up and I was like, how come I can't find Brown anywhere? And then I realized that he was off in the second round. So
Yeah,
uh, yeah, wow, what a jump in his ranking
yeah,
from just like a
he's
year ago.
he's moved up. Corey Davis is gone from that team, and so is the tight end, and so he's going to be a target hog. Okay, Justin Jefferson, he's moved up in everybody's rankings this year. Had a great rookie season. Keenan Allen, we've talked about him before. He's a target hog for the Chargers. He's the number one option, and it seems like he's also the number two and the three option. And then it gets checked down to Eckler. So, he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns, but he gets the yardage, he gets the receptions. This is a PPR league, as you mentioned before. So his value is higher in a PPR league than it would be in a standard league, in my opinion. But this is PPR that we're drafting right now. And then at the end of the second round, we see Najee Harris, who you were talking about before. That's pretty good. I mean, he's going to get the ball a lot in
So
Pittsburgh.
so just look at number one, the guy
Yeah,
who picked number one, Gambal.
yeah,
He has Gibson at 3, Najee Harris at 2, and McCaffrey at 1.
yeah.
Now that guy's lineup is crazy. Now he can go and get receivers, right? Number 2 picking Keenan Allen and then Josh Jacobs, right? And then
Mhm.
that person has Cook. So that guy is super strongly. So maybe you're not getting the better two, but you are really getting when it comes down into the second to third round. That's what I'm saying. Like the mid rounds for these lower um, picks are actually quite valuable. And then these guys walk away with stacked teams. You're like, how did Josh Jacobs get on this guy's team? And you're like, oh, it's because he picked him 3rd round, 2nd spot, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
So it's number one is not as bad as I was making it out to be earlier.
Right, but I think I would have, instead of picking Josh Jacobs, I probably would have went to Darren Waller. And I might
Okay.
have even done Darren Waller even sooner.
Okay. Yeah, you went tight end next, didn't you?
I did, because Kettle was around, and so I just figured if you're not getting Waller, Kettle, or
Yeah,
um,
there you
the
are.
or Travis Kelsey, then really there's nothing really in the league to pick up after that. Maybe TJ Hawk from Detroit, but you would really have to stretch. Like I said, my strategy went out the window when the guy in front of me picked up Hawkins, so I really had to. I didn't have any time to think of a second strategy. Like, I had a piece of paper,
Yeah.
and that was it. I didn't have strategy 2.
Okay. Well, there's a good point. Lesson learned.
And at the same point too, when you
Yeah.
know that you're drafting, you usually league managers give you a week. I learned I was drafting at 12:30 or whatever, and then 4 minutes is on the clock, and
Okay.
I was the manager.
Okay. All right. Well, it is just mock drafting, so it's not the real deal. This is not the team that you're stuck with
Nah.
for the whole season. But again, preparation is important. Don't just go into your fantasy draft thinking you can wing it and you'll be fine, because stuff happens. Okay, so you got Kittle and then Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. That's a decent pick. He didn't have the year last year that everybody thought he was going to have.
Well, he was injured, and then he came back, and then he was just determined to go back on the field. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard, you know.
there's a lot of talent on that team, and those touchdowns they get spread around on that team. But I was looking next at what receiver I could get, because I had gone tight end and running back. And like we were talking earlier, Julio Jones is probably going to be gone from Atlanta, which means Calvin Ridley is the top receiver on that team. They've got a coordinator that's come over from Tennessee that seems to know what he's doing. And, I think that Ridley, who was already a solid pick, going into this draft, once I heard Julio Jones was probably going to be on the road, I mean, his stock went up. So I needed a receiver, and he was the best looking one that I saw. So I just jumped on that. David Montgomery went next. I don't know how good he's going to be last year. He was very up and down. He was disappointing out of the gate, and then he got hot towards the end of the year. Once Tyreek Cohen was injured, he got all the targets. And I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out next year. If he's going to have competition for some of those touches, and how it's going to be with the Justin Fields taking over at quarterback. I mean, they could look completely different next year.
Right.
Evans, pretty much touchdown a game guy. Sometimes not much else, but that's the way he rolled last year. Sometimes he would have one catch for one touchdown and 1 yard. I guess that would be 7 fantasy points in a PPR league for that one catch.
Or like 5.5, depending on how you get picked.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 0.5 per catch and then 5 for a touchdown.
Okay.
Depending how your league wants to score.
Right. So, I mean, those
because you make your points sometimes with your catches, right? So,
yeah.
For instance, if you get like a highly productive pass catcher or running back pass catcher, he can get you about 4 fantasy passes by catching 8 in the game, right? And that's like getting 8 passes. What are you, like Edelman in like this Super Bowl, whatever that Super Bowl was where he won MVP?
Yeah.
He
got 11 targets or something.
11 targets, like that was insane.
Yeah.
So, so if you do get the ball quite a bit, So that's where you also get some points too, PPR.
Right. So know the rules of the league that you're playing in and draft accordingly.
Yeah, or talk to your manager and make sure that, a touchdown is worth 6 points, and not 5.
Yeah, I know in some leagues the quarterback is not all that important because his touchdown passes only count for 4 points, which devalues the quarterback if that's the case. But if you're getting 6, that's a whole other story because that adds up over the course of a season when a guy's throwing 30 or 40 touchdowns. It's a big difference, 2 points on each of them.
Yeah, 2 points on each of them, plus your running yards, plus your passing yards. Let's say 25, I believe, is what most people set their the point structure at.
Yeah.
So if you throw for 300, you run for 10, and you got a couple of touchdowns, and your quarterback's sitting at 24 points.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So Terry McLaurin's going to be having Fitzpatrick as his QB next year. And the pattern with Fitzpatrick is that he likes to find his favorite receiver and feed him the ball a lot. So this could be a great pick, Terry McLaurin. It remains to be seen what Washington will look like with Fitzpatrick next year. But I think he's actually going to be the guy for once and not really have to look over his shoulder all that much.
Round 3 for Terry is a great slot for him. So I would think if he was available in the latter part of the 3rd round for anybody, any league, definitely he is. He might go a bit better than anyone else in the wide receiver position. So keep an eye out for him, especially on your roster.
Right. Okay, Chris Carson's up next. They didn't really get much running back help in the draft. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a good guy to have on your team. They're saying they want to run the ball every play next year or whatever. They want to feature the run more. So that remains to be seen. But because, again, they drafted a receiver. But Chris Carson, good solid pick here, especially when you got Terry McLaurin, the pick before. And then CeeDee Lamb. People are really high on him. I don't know if he's the number 1 or if Amari Cooper is the number 1 in that offense. But I guess Team Pink here favors Lamb over Cooper.
Yeah, but he's a Dallas Cowboy and he wears 88. So if this guy's a Dallas Cowboy fan, he's thinking historical numbers, right? So whatever, just let him be.
Okay, the jersey number is an important factor for some people.
Jersey number in Dallas, and just oh my goodness.
Okay, and then we got a starting running back here, Myles Gaskin, in round 4. So that's a good solid pickup. Not a big guy, but he's a ball hog, and doesn't have a lot of competition for touches. At least based on what we saw last year. So this is a good solid pick, I'm thinking.
I'm just looking at Shake and Bake right now.
Yeah.
The guy has Taylor Swift at 2, and then he gets Montgomery, and now he picks up Gaskin.
Did you say this guy's Taylor Swift on his team?
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Swift, Montgomery in round 3, and now he's just sitting at a Gaskin. So, is this guy wanting to trade a wide receiver in the middle of the year? The guy has 4 solid running backs, and the league I think we're playing only has 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
So he has 2 guys on the bench all the time. This guy's going to go gray or bald by the time every week goes by, because who are you starting?
Yeah, you could drive yourself nuts if you have too much depth.
Well, too much depth at one position.
Position.
Is this guy in for a trade? Do you want Kittle? I'll give you Kittle.
Possibly.
I'll give you my kicker.
Yeah, look for those guys in your league that have. I kind of ended up in a similar situation to that, which we can get into in a bit. But I was the first guy in this draft to take a tight end. And I wanted to get the best QB available also. And the fact that Kelsey and Mahomes, that's a dynamic hookup. And, there were a lot of sort of medium players available here, or I thought, yeah, I can go ahead and get the best QB and get that 2-for-1 deal, throwing the ball to the tight end. So I was the first guy to take a QB here. And I'm happy with the one that I got. So that was my strategy there. Mahomes to Kelsey. That'll pay off, I think.
I think in some leagues, Mahomes will even go into like the third round. So picking him up at fourth is a steal. Also I believe like Kyler Murray too would be. He's not even off the board yet, and
Right.
I think he would be going up at a higher level than what he is. But if we keep going, but yeah, great pick. Definitely, you got that quarterback 1-2 punch. Pretty much the same game that I was trying to play with the Hopkins and Murray, but then my computer glitch happened. But yeah, not only the computer glitch, the guy in front of me picked up Hopkins, so I had to throw out my strategy, and then kind of my mouse I got flustered.
So either way, you weren't going to get that guy. It wasn't destiny.
No, I got flustered at that point, and everything screwed up.
Right. Hey, emotions are running high on drafting, man. It's
especially at round 2. Like it was my second pick. I was like, shit, oh no, what happened? So what's going? So then I actually had Thielen on my board too, and he gets picked up too right before me.
Okay, and are you happy with Godwin? Because you ended up getting Godwin.
Well, yeah, I picked up Godwin, but I had Thielen as my guy into the next round. So I had Godwin as I wanted him for sure as my number 4th round pick.
Yeah, because you could see Godwin. You got Godwin while Thielen was still available.
Yes, but I kind of had players now in my queue.
Okay.
I realized what I was kind of doing finally
right.
in the draft. Took me about 4 rounds.
Okay. Robert Woods, we don't know what that's going to look like with Stafford. I guess he's the number 1 guy there. He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns.
No, I would have picked up Cup instead. He sounds like he seems. Anyways, it's okay.
Yeah,
good for Gromes. I don't know what he's been doing in the draft, but okay, keep going.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cup has the great chemistry with Goff, but Goff's gone. So I guess the point that we're saying here is that we don't really know what's going to happen with the Rams receiving situation this year. We kind of have to see what they look like with Stafford to see how it's going to play out, because it's kind of an unknown right now. I don't know if they might just be the same. Stafford coming in for Goff, like it might not be that different. Hard to know at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, Thielen. Thielen is a touchdown monster, but his PPR value, I think, is going down because I think Jefferson is getting fed the ball. He's becoming more of the featured receiver.
Yeah, featured in situations, but Thielen will steal more catches in a game and more touchdown red zone catches in a game. So like it's an interesting kind of like duo. And Cousins does have those options. I think I was sitting there once sweating, and Thielen gets 2 touchdowns in a game for 25 yards. Wow. Right? Because he was just the big body at the red zone. And that's what he is.
Doing his Mike Evans impression.
Yeah, he's just a big body and like down low.
Right.
Throwing the ball. 50-50.
Right. Okay. So you like the pick at 44.
I do.
And Deonta Johnson is good when he decides to catch the footballs that are hitting him in the hands.
Yeah. Well, it's also Pittsburgh's like what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's a tough team to decide if Ben's throwing the ball or are they running the ball or what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
remains to be seen. Also, Tyler Lockett.
And then you have who else is on their team? Claypool, and then who's the other guy that they Juju Smith. So you have 3 capable guys, all one. But Ben does seem to like Deonta Johnson for some reason. Yeah. But that could change this year. He could be like, I like Claypool. I don't know. Yeah, I like anyone I like.
Hard to know who's going to emerge as the featured guy. Also, I think Pittsburgh's going to run a little more next year. They better if they want to win some games. Okay, Tyler Lockett, very streaky player. Sometimes he'll get you a lot of points, and sometimes he'll get you 0. So an up and down receiver. I think he was in the top 12 or maybe in the top. Well, he was definitely a top 20 guy last year, but I had him on my team and he got me some 0 games. So I'm staying away from that because I like consistency. And
Yeah,
here's where
he picked him up as his number 2 receiver as well too. So very interesting pick on his part because he has Waller as a tight end, and then he has Jefferson as his other receiver. So
okay.
kind of an interesting pick for that guy. That's definitely a questionable one because, like you say, like Lockett has Metcalf to compete with, and it's if they said they're running the ball this year.
Yeah. Again, I'm staying away from those question marks until I can see at least some preseason or something, see how these systems are being run. Anywhere where there's question marks, you only get 16 picks on your fantasy team. So, for me, I can't depend on Tyler Lockett as a number 2, maybe as a flex.
Yeah.
Same thing with Julio. We don't know where he's going to go. So drafting him at this point in the season, it's kind of iffy, but the picture will get clear as we get closer. DJ Moore, what do you think of that pick?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean,
he's like Robbie Anderson's fighting for the ball too. So like it's like either 12 or 11 catching the ball. So it's 50-50. You just don't know who's catching the touchdowns. And
yeah.
every time you want more to touch the ball, you're giving it to Robbie. And so that's also a very tough duo.
Yeah.
I probably would have picked up Galladay, the guy that went, but that's what this guy gets. He gets more and Galladay.
Right.
And so like
back to
back. So not bad as a double pick because you could sit more and he could just be collecting points on your bench and not collecting points in other teams' pockets. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, Moore may get a few more targets because of the exit of. I'm just looking for the name of the guy actually that I drafted, and I'm forgetting his name, but he went to Washington, and so he was sharing targets with another receiver besides Anderson, and so now he's been pushed to the head of the queue. I can't find him. So yeah, I mean he may have a better season than he did last year. He was okay last year, but he wasn't that consistent.
Yeah, we're at 50. We're in the 50s right now, Sean.
Yeah, but I'm looking for the receiver that I drafted. He came over from Carolina, and I've lost him. And I'm thinking there's your Robbie Anderson that you have. Curtis Samuel. There we go. So Curtis Samuel left the Panthers, and he's gone over to Washington. So therefore, DJ Moore may get more targets.
I picked 2 Carolina Panthers. Well, one of them an next one, which my 55th pick was Mike Davis.
Right.
Going to Atlanta. I think that was a very solid choice.
Yeah.
Sitting at 55 could possibly be RB1. Right. So like, having him so low in the draft, I was quite baffled at that. So I was just going, holy cow, like how could those guys ahead of him be picked? Like unproducing rookies. I don't know. It's just odd. Just odd. Like
it's a great pickup by you because he's got no competition as of right now.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who he's going to be sharing the ball with, so he's getting them all.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said that when I saw him on that roster, I like so down at 55. I was like, how could? But he's not ranked high. I think he was kind of like. I wouldn't. I'm not going to say what he was ranked, but he wasn't on the depth chart. He was pretty low. He was sitting at like the 18th spot, or maybe even like the 22nd spot. And I had him flagged
Yeah. Well,
right away.
he's a starter.
Yeah.
Unlike the next guy, Travis Etienne, who's going to be sharing with Robinson. We don't know what that's going to look like.
That's why I didn't even pick Robinson. I saw Robinson. I think he was stolen board at this point. This guy picked Etienne before Robinson even has been drafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then I took Edmonds because it's the same situation as Davis. I sort of copied the format that you were following there. Who's going to compete with Chase Edmonds for the ball? Drake has been traded out of town. Went to the Raiders in Vegas. So it's the Chase Edmonds show right now. It's his job to lose. He's a featured guy. It's a good, prolific offense. So I was happy to pick him up because, in the first round I went tight end. And so I was looking to, scoop some running backs, being that's the weakness and I also picked Mahomes. So on my team, that's the weakness there. I need running backs. I was happy to get a starter here at this spot. I also had Davis in my queue, but you took him away from me before I could get him. But then I got Edmonds, so that was great.
Yeah. Let's kind of wrap this up a little bit here. Anybody else that you kind of see, in these last, I don't know, we're sitting at round 6.
Yeah, I mean, there's still good running backs because receivers and tight ends and that were going early. You can still see there's Kareem Hunt, James Robertson. There's Kyler Murray that you were talking about, still on the board down here at this is the 6th round. Great pickup. Herbert, good QB. I just was surprised that I was able to get both the running backs for the Denver Broncos, Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I don't think there was any Bronco fans in this draft pool. I'm pretty excited though about picking up Cole Beasley.
Okay.
I think sitting him in a flex position all year long would be ideal. However, I think the bye weeks this year is going to play a key. When I was picking and I got to this round 7 or 8, I started looking at my bye weeks and was like, holy cow, I have so many guys at week 14 on my bench. Like, it was crazy. I didn't even plan this. I just looked. Maybe it's because I had 2 Carolina Panthers on. I don't know. But wow, I think this year I'm going to focus, since I have the time to.
Yeah.
Also picking my picks, avoiding week 14. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to pick a production guy or you're going to pick a semi-production guy, if he lands on 14, pick on somebody who has like at least week 13 off or week 15 off. Something different. I do think, and I would have to look a little bit deeper into what weeks teams have off, but that was one thing I came out of this draft with. Noticing I didn't pay attention. Like I said, I had all of 4 minutes to prepare for this draft on a platform I haven't drafted on in several years.
Right.
So really trying to maybe make that my, I got time. It's May. If this is my first mock draft in May, I usually do this in August. I usually do this like the day before my draft. Now I get to do it 4 months before my draft and do multiple ones.
Well,
become an expert by the time my draft comes.
That's kind of the point. And since we're doing a fantasy show, yeah, it'd be nice if we got good at this. So that's the end of the draft here. I just wanted to scroll through and let everybody see, the final result. The last guy that was taken was Tyler Bass.
Yeah, Tyler Bass was my reason why I didn't win 3rd place this year. I decided to start Prater. Prater didn't kick anything in the last game. Tyler Bass had like 13 points or something like that. I would have won. I think I lost my season by like less than a point.
I'm sorry to hear that. Better luck next year.
And he was the last one off the board. My kicker, who did I pick? Oh yeah, Joey Sly.
Oh, that's your guy.
Yeah, he's huge. And like I said, I picked so many Carolina guys. I had no clue I even
Yeah.
liked Carolina.
Yeah, well, when you have a lot of players from the same team, you really got to be aware of that bye week situation, like you were discussing earlier. I mean, you could just choose to lose that week and just not care if you think your team's going to be really good. But if you've got to give up guys, you have to be mindful.
Yeah, like my league last year was insane. The top 2 players ran with the league, and they were sitting at like 1 and 2 with 1 loss each. And they only played each other once during the season.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, like 3rd to 10,
Yeah.
were all tooth and nail.
Right.
They were either losing a week and winning a week, and there was just snake and ladder, just running through the gauntlet. And the guy that actually got to 3rd place, because I ended up finishing 3rd.
Yeah.
And the guy that got, like, he started at 6 and just had a hot streak going the last 3 weeks, and then beat me by less than a point. It was great on him.
The drama.
So much drama.
Okay, well that's our May mock. So
I gotta do another one.
We'll give it
do another one. But
okay.
I won't try the Hopkins strategy. It all depends what number you're drafting. I was drafting at 7, so I had to go deep into my notes and be like, what does number 7 look like? How do you pick 7?
Yeah.
Right. Like, what's the strategy when you're picking 7? What are you picking? Right. And I'm not used to picking 12.
Yeah.
10 is what I'm used to. So this is all brand new stuff. So maybe we should even try like a 6-man round. It'd be stacked. You have like so many quarterbacks and wide receivers.
It's too easy to have a great team if there's only 6 teams in the league. But yeah, you have to have a strategy for every number. What's my strategy if I'm number 1? How about if I'm 2? What am I doing? If I'm 9, 10, 11, they're completely different strategies. So, all this was good to look at, and we'll do one in June. We'll take a look at another fantasy draft in June when things change. Maybe we'll know where Julio's going to be. Maybe we'll know if Rodgers is coming back, and a few more things like that. So thanks for doing this, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, it was fun. Have a good night.
All right. Yep.
Bye.
You too. See you. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Football Game Plan.